Hey, good morning, 3rd through 5th grade math. Happy Cinco de Mayo. I hope you had a great Star Wars day yesterday. If you're into such things, may the 4th be with you. Cinco de Mayo today happens to be on Taco Tuesday. So I don't know about your family, but we'll be having tacos today to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, or just because it's Tuesday. So I felt like you guys are stuck inside. It's a beautiful day. So I thought we might all go on a field trip. And where are we going to go on a field trip? Well, we're going to go on a field trip to my house. I happen to live on a farm. We don't have that many animals and I don't really grow anything, but we live on 30 acres and I thought it might be fun to take you on a math field trip. We're going to sneak a little bit of math in too, and then after this we'll go back inside and do our lesson. All right, let me turn you around and I'll have you meet some people. All right, there's nobody here right now, but if you listen closely, you can hear a whole bunch of birds and an airplane. You can hear a whole bunch of birds. We have a hummingbird feeder that they like. Our cherry tree is starting to bloom, which is awesome. All right, let's go meet these guys. This is Goatee and Brady. They're brothers. They are, instead of having dogs, we would love to have dogs, but these guys can stay outside. This is Goatee. Hi. And this is Brady. Let's get them something to eat. You guys hungry? All right. Guys hungry? They each get a cup of food. You can't overfeed goats. They like to eat before you even put it in their dish. All right. Don't forget to pray before you eat. All right. So, we have 2 goats. Try to remember that. When it's nice out, we have a lot of exciting things to do here, like swing, jump. Hey guys, what's 6 times 7? 42, you're right. Balance. Hike. Swim, but not quite yet. We're ready for our fire tonight. Hey, what's 8 times 8? 64. Good job. Many a frisbee and soccer game has been had here. And in that barn right there, we have a bunch of bikes. All right, let's go meet some more animals. That's our garage. It used to house livestock, but not anymore. All right, the girls are up. When I first started our field trip, they weren't. Hey girls. These girls get a lot of love, especially from Cassie. She takes them out for field trips all the time. Hey girls. Hi. Gonna go lay some eggs? All right, at one time we had 5 chickens, but now we only have 2. Okay, so how many chickens do we not have anymore? That was an odd way to say it. So subtract. 5 minus 2, 3 are gone. All right, guys, this is our fancy cat door. We have 2 cats. They're brothers also, just like Goatee and Brady. We have 2 cats and they live outside. They like to live outside. We actually got them from the shelter and they're barn cats. Some of you guys may remember they were stuck in our basement for a little while. So they are very much enjoying being able to be outside. A lot of times they live underneath that barn, but they go in there to eat and to drink. So, and they help take care of mice because we live on a farm. And with farms come mice. So here's a simple story problem for you. We have 3 different kinds of animals: goats, chickens, cats. We have 2 kinds, or 2 of each kind of animal. How many animals do we have altogether? You got it. 6 animals on the Blair farm. Hey. We also have basketball. Oh yeah. Hey guys, if Mrs. Blair makes 5 shots and only gets 1 in, what fraction of the shots did she get in? 1/5. You got it. Well, that is a sad, sad number. But anyway, let's do some place value and divisibility rules. Okay. What place is the 5 in? You got it. 1's place. The 2? 10's place. The 1? 100's place. Hey, is 125 divisible by 3? Let's find out. We add the 3 digits together. 1 plus 2 is 3 plus 5 is 8. Can 8 be divided by 3 evenly? It cannot. So 125 is not divisible by 3. Hey, thanks for coming on this little field trip with me. I'm gonna head inside, make some coffee, and do your math lessons with you. See you soon. Well, hello again, 5th grade. I hope you did well on your math tests. I don't know because I haven't graded them yet, mostly because I haven't received a lot of them yet. So if you could get me those math tests as soon as possible, that would be awesome. All right, so during our Zoom today, we're going to do our diagnosing readiness for chapter 8, but I'd like to jump right into the first lesson of chapter 8 because you're going to be doing the first lesson today for homework and then the second lesson tomorrow for homework. And it might be a little confusing for you, but I'm hoping that we'll catch on quickly because we've been talking about fractions, we've been talking about common denominators, and this builds on our last chapter. Okay, so for our first lesson today, we're going to talk about adding and subtracting fractions that have the same denominator. In order to add or subtract fractions, you have to have the same denominator. So if they're already the same, that makes it way easier. In tomorrow's lesson, which we're going to talk about in a minute, we're going to add and subtract fractions that have different denominators, but we can't do it until we make them have the same denominator. So let's first talk about adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator. We are looking at page 460. Okay, we're looking at page 460. So there's an example on here, 7/10 plus 8/10. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit different just so that you don't see the answer. Okay, so let's do 5/10 plus 8/10. Okay, so when you add or subtract fractions, you never add the denominators. The denominators stay the same. So this is 5 out of 10 plus 8 out of 10. Okay, so you're going to add the numerators, but keep the denominator the same. Okay, so 5 plus 8 is 13. So 5/10 plus 8 tenths is 13 tenths, okay? So it equals 13 tenths. Well, we know, right from what we've talked about before, that 13 tenths is an improper fraction, okay? If the number on the top, if the numerator on the top is larger than the denominator, you have to make it into a mixed number. That's an improper fraction, okay? So in order to figure out what the answer is, because the answer is not correct until you make it into a proper fraction, a mixed number, and it's reduced to its lowest terms, okay? So 13 tenths. So you divide 13 by 10, because remember that line is also a division line. So 13 divided by 10 equals what? 1, with how many left over? 3. So 13 tenths equals 1 and 3 tenths. Okay, is 3 tenths the smallest you can make that fraction? It is, because the greatest common factor of 3 and 10 is 1. All right, so let's do the same thing with subtraction. Let's say that we have 9 tenths minus 3 tenths. 9 tenths minus 3 tenths. Okay, 9 minus 3 is going to be 6 tenths. Okay, well, I can tell just from looking at 6 tenths that that is not as small as it can be. How do I know? Well, first of all, 6 and 10 are both even, so I know it can at least be divisible by 2. Okay, so what is the greatest common factor of 6 and 10? 6 is 1, 2, 3, 6. 10, 1, 2, 5, 10. So 2 is the greatest common factor. So I'm going to divide the top by 2 and the bottom by 2, because remember, if you're going to make an equivalent fraction, it always has to be, you do the same thing to the top as you do to the bottom. So let's divide 6 and 10 by 2, and you have 3 fifths. So the final answer of 9 tenths minus 3 tenths is 3 fifths, because you'll have to have it reduced down to its lowest terms. All right, well, that's pretty simple. It's when you get into having to make sure the denominators are the same before you add or subtract. Okay, so let's turn to that lesson. Okay, page 462. All right, so in this particular lesson, you're using fraction strips, okay? This is just so that you can visualize, all right? So if you have the problem 3/4 plus 1/8, 3/4 plus 1/8. Well, 3/4 plus 1/8, you can't add that together yet because they do not have the same denominator. So if you used a fraction strip, okay, we know that there's 2/8 in every, let's do one whole that is divided into 8 pieces. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and we're going to do another whole that's divided into 4 pieces. Okay, so for every fourth, we have 2/8. All right, so we have 1/8 and then 3/4. So we can tell right from looking at the fraction strip that 1/8 plus 3/4 is going to be 6. 3/4 is the same as 6/8. okay? So 1/8 plus 6/8 is 7/8, okay? So we have to make that fourth into eighths before we can add them together, okay? So let's look at the activity here, okay? Tomorrow, we're going to talk about, or not tomorrow, our next video, Thursday, I'm going to talk to you about greatest common factors and turning, or least common denominator, I'm sorry, using our greatest common factor to find our least common denominator. So many different letters that mean different things, but we'll find out what they mean on Thursday. Okay, so let's look at the activity. How can fraction strips help you add and subtract fractions with unlike denominators? Two beads are laid end to end. One is 3/4 inch long and the other is 1/8 of an inch long. What is the combined length? Okay, step 1, use the fraction strip to show 3/4 plus 1/8, which is what we just did. And you can see it in color over here, right here. All right, exchange 1/4 strips with 1/8 strips to find a fraction for 3/4 with a denominator of 8. Step 3, how many 1/8 strips are there? What is 3/4 plus 1/8? Okay, so it's 6 strips, it's 7/8. I said how many 1/8 strips there were, 6 of them. Okay, so use the fraction strips to find each sum. Okay, 1/8 plus 1/2, what does it equal? 5/8. Okay, 1/6 plus 1/3. For the most part, you're going to use the denominator that is greater. Turn the other one into that denominator. Sometimes you won't be able to because they don't have greatest common factors and they won't be able to, so you'll have to turn it into something totally different. Usually you can multiply them by each other, but we'll get back to that another day. All right, 1/6 plus 1/3 is going to be 3/6. Okay, and 2/3 plus 1/12, 9/12. Okay, so same thing with subtraction. All right, to find 2/3 minus 1/6, use 1/3 strips to show 2/3. Okay, so you can see the strips over here. Exchange 1/3 strips with 1/6 strips so you can remove 1/6 because you're subtracting. How many 1/6 strips are left? What is 2/3 minus 1/6? Okay, there were 3 strips, and then you have 3 strips, 3/6 left. Okay, and that is not the smallest that it can be. What is 3/6? 1/2. So that would be the final answer. Okay, so we'll talk about that a little bit more when we go on our Zoom class. We're going to do our diagnosing readiness, and if you have any questions, just email me, and I'll see you in a few minutes.